Greetings, Dr. Jeffrey Scott, and this is my Market MRI Pro update for Thursday, September 18, 2025, although it's almost Friday. By the time I finish, it probably will be. I entitled today Russellmania as small caps finally join the all-time high party. Pretty big day. The market has voted, at least short term, that they liked what the Fed did, which was exactly what everybody thought the Fed would do. Again, my name is Jeffrey Scott. My email address is marketmripro@gmail.com. My Google group is called Top Down Trader. Everything I talk about should be taken in the spirit of education. This is not investment advice. I am a cancer doctor, not an investment advisor, and I have none of the licenses that would even give me the ability or permission to tell you how to trade. I do these videos to demonstrate how I use my tools for top-down analysis, how I apply them. One of my followers, Praveen, built a great trading tool. It's called Market MRI Pro. Most of these videos I do to support that. I have equally good but different tools inside TradeStation. I've got indicators in TradingView and soon to be in Metastock. Trading involves risk. You are solely responsible for any investment decisions you make. I may own or intend to buy or sell any stock I mentioned. Trading stocks and options should be considered risky. You should always consult with your financial advisor. And I have tools in multiple platforms, as I mentioned. My Top Down Trader Google group is a place that I use for sharing information, giving you a video every time I post something, give you $100 off on any of the things that I sell. That I can control price. That's a big caveat. Certain things are outside my domain. And I won't try and sell stuff to you. I won't try and hound you. It's really for like people to communicate. And hopefully before too long, we'll move it to Discord or some other more active site when I have the time. Speaking of the time, October 26th and 27th, this is my yearly meeting in Palm Beach Gardens at the Marriott Palm Beach Gardens, 2 days packed education, software instruction. Cost is $12.50. You'll get fed breakfast, lunch, and dinner on Sunday with dinner on my boat, weather permitting, and Monday breakfast and lunch. Hotel's $155 a night. If you're interested, reach out to me at marketmripro@gmail.com. $12.50 is if you compare other types of meetings and look at what you get for it, I think I do. It's a pretty good deal, especially since you're not spending any money for food while you're here. But I'll also give you a $400 rebate towards anything I own. So for example, if you're watching this today and you want my Market MRI Pro and you want to come to my live meeting, or you want to pay for the live meeting and watch it at home on the internet, not nearly as much fun, and you don't get to go on my boat, you could actually take Market MRI, which retails for $19.95. I'll give everybody at my meeting that $400 rebate, so that brings you down to $15.95. And then you have another $100 you get off $14.95. So you can apply the rebate to the product even before we get the meeting, once you pay for the meeting. So love to have you. John Person has a meeting on the Friday and Saturday. I'm Sunday and Monday. John's awesome. You can do one airfare, 2 extra nights in the hotel, and get 2 Titans of teaching. There's a pun on Titans. I'm not going to go there, but if John listened to this, he could giggle. And then you can see on Friday, there's no news. Today we had jobless claims, the Philadelphia Fed. And I think it was relief, perhaps, that the economy is picking up, according to the Philadelphia Fed. Jobless claims were what they were. Jobs have become weaker. And earnings-wise, after the hours, FedEx was up and looked like it was pulling UPS with it, and Lennar was down. The judgment call to hold stocks over earnings dates. It's bad judgment to not know when your stock's earnings date is scheduled. For more information about anything I talk about, just email me at marketmripro@gmail.com. And if you have the program, have a question or an issue with it, coding at marketmripro.com, or bother me. It's not a bother, and I can always get Praveen. See you in Florida. I'm not having it at this hotel, but as I told the doc I had dinner with tonight, If you're bringing your spouse, because he's coming to we have a charity for cancer golf tournament coming up. If you come to our golf tournament, don't stay where we tell you to stay. If you're bringing your spouse, go 2 more miles and stay on the beach. And I used to live right down the block. It's an awesome beach, but you can stay at that meeting or 10 minutes at that hotel. You're 10 minutes from our meeting if you want to bring your loved ones. All right, enough of that blabbering. If you look at the performance today, definitely a broadening, especially of the small caps. Russell was up 2.5%, finishing almost at the high of the day. Bitcoin was up 1.64. It was up as high as 2.09. It finished in the middle of the day. Q's up 0.9, middle of the day. The dollar was up again 0.48, finishing in the lower third. The spider was up 0.47 in the mid-range. Diamonds 0.3 in the middle, and the volatility traded well off the lows at down minus 0.45. If you look at the new highs minus new lows, it's the first time in a long time that the NASDAQ is outperforming the NYSE. And when we look down here, we could see 78% higher in the S&P 1500, 72% in the NASDAQ, and 68% in the NYSE. So a very strong day, broad participation, definite breadth improvement. If we look at the S&P 500 sectors, and we look at the leadership, tech, industrial, healthcare, financials. Big day for biotech. Don't know if it's a sea change and everything's going to change. And it may have been because of Roche is buying, I think it's called 89 Bio for a lot of money. If you look, you can see the laggards were staples, interestingly discretionary as well, and energy, which have been doing okay. If we look at what's working from the perspective of a theme, cannabis, semis, genomics and biotech, cyber, uranium, Internet of Things, NASDAQ, cyber. Notice what's fell off here is gold and silver. Look at the timing model. The daily model is still long, so is the weekly and the monthly. I definitely tell you when I'm nervous about the market. I tell you when I'm starting to pull back and raise cash. But I've also told you for weeks now that my timing model says you have to be long. And this has been a great August and September so far. You could see here a doji bar on the spiders, but we'll talk more about those patterns in a minute. Most importantly, we did set an all-time high and closing high today on the spiders, all-time high and closing high today on the Qs. All-time high, I don't know if we had an all-time closing high. I'll have to go look closer at the Russell. And then all-time high and all-time closing high on the diamonds. Super strong market. Super strong market. Markets don't go up forever. Just a little note of caution, hopefully not forewarning of something bad that's imminent. This green line going down to the right is seasonality. I think technicals trump seasonality. However, it's hard to ignore the seasonality is pointing down. What I like about this chart is that the 50 is not that far away, neither is the 17. Even if it fell to the 50 at 640-ish, and it closed at around 661, it's less than 4%. I think that we got a nice uptrend. I expect these little pullbacks to happen. That may have been it. That's certainly a big tail on the bottom. Markets look to me like they want to go higher. The caveat being, don't forget seasonality. If we look at the Qs, the story of all-time highs continues. Doji at all-time highs, similar day yesterday with a long bottoming tail. You had momentum continuing again, but just like the other, a little bit of negative seasonality, just something to be careful about. And the high jump is getting to the point where you start to think about extension. Diamonds feel like a broken record. Guess what? All-time high. Weak seasonality, not too far from the 17 or the 50, so good support underneath. I love that support. And then if we look at the Russell, let's go back to the prior high. Here's the prior high button. So on the closing high aspect, yes, We have an all-time closing high because if I remember correctly, oh, don't do that to me. Let me go back here. All right. On this bar here, the high was 244.98. On this bar here, the high was 245.14. New all-time high. I don't even have to measure on the closing high. So we have completed this pattern. This was the first all-time high in the Russell, going back quite a bit to the right, to the left rather. And you know what happens after we hit that all-time high? We sold off. So it's great that we hit the all-time high. And it's hard not to be bullish at all-time highs. The seasonality here is probably not as negative as its peers, but we've had a long run. High-low jump is at 100. And when the high jumps at 100, we're typically at the highest extension that it's been in the last year. No surprise, this is the highest price it's been. So part of me is worried that we're running too far and that we're going to pull back just out of routine extension. Doesn't mean it happens tomorrow, it could. So that means that I'm being careful. I did raise some cash this week. I actually had a positive day both Thursday and Wednesday, and actually was more positive on Wednesday because of the massive move in Baidu. Sometimes you just get lucky. I've watched that stock forever and I bought it in the 90s, and then shortly after that, it just has run up to 135. The VIX closed higher than it opened. It was down 0.13, but the open candle means it's high, closed here, opened here. Bottoming tail, is that a reversal candle? It could be if it was a stock. It's going to have to clear the 50. So that's telling me maybe danger is a little bit more than I think. And at some point, I don't like a strong dollar. We're still below this line here. We're below the 50. We failed at it, but a big gap up on the dollar. The dollar was up 0.5% today. So that's something I'll be watching. Strong dollar and likely pressure commodities. And so gold, which had been at all-time highs, has come back a couple of days. That doesn't look like a candle that's going down much more. In fact, when you start to see that tail, it makes me think that we are kind of at an area where I expect it to reverse. So we'll see if we don't get a pop in gold tomorrow. I think gold is going higher. I think inflation is still an issue in this country. And if the Fed just juiced inflation, then gold will probably like that quite a bit. If we look at silver, silver has been at all-time highs, has not been at all-time highs because of 2011. It did set a recent high here, closed lower, dropped, and today was a reversal candle, was actually up 0.5%. So we'll see if gold and silver firm here. Oil bouncing around at the 50, natural gas failed the 50. And the other thing, I'm not going to say we need to go out and be all upset and hang the crepes that the market is done and we need to go find a place to hibernate for the next bear. But you could see that we had another positive day, up almost 1% on the 10-year, up almost a little bit over 1%, 1.01 on the 30-year. I like rates low. And you have to ask yourself a question, why are rates going up if the Fed just cut, especially on the long end? And that's because the Fed doesn't control the long end. And the long end is incredibly important when it comes to mortgages. And the long end is set by the bond traders. So I guess they weren't as happy with the Fed as us stock traders are. If we look at the buckets, you'll see we shifted away from the left to the right, and we've got 11% above on the NASDAQ, 13% above on the Russell 2000. When they get to 25, I get to think that that's another signal that you're potentially over bought. So I think we're now shifting from an oversold mentality to now thinking overbought, and what are the signs that are going to tell us to get out before the market hits that proverbial top. I'll be watching these stocks above their Bollinger Bands. Market breadth, new high in the NASDAQ composite today, not a new high, not far away, but not a new high on the NYSE. You had bangos on both, which is exuberant buying. You saw turning up of the stocks above the moving averages. You saw positive new high, new lows, AD lines and up down volume. Just a super, super strong day in the market. It's all that I can say. Now I'm going to do a quick check and see what Market Smith says volume was today. Let's see. NASDAQ up 12%, NYSE down 8%. So mixed volume, not massive volume day. And my other breadth indicator I like, we're not extended yet. 0.66, 13-week new high, new lows, 0.82, 0.93 on the Russell. So that one says, hey, I'm getting a little bit frothy here, guys. You might see a little bit pullback or sideways movement, but maybe another day up, and 0.77 on the S&P 1500. So notice the AD lines, which are the magenta, have turned up. So maybe that divergence that has been concerning me will resolve. So my gestalt on the market is it doesn't go up forever. We've had an amazing run. We're at all-time highs across the board. Do I think we're higher at the end of the year still? I do, but it wouldn't shock me to see a pullback. I've got a number of options expiring tomorrow. I think it's a quadruple option expiration day. So I would expect some volatility. And a lot of people, managing those positions. I am going to raise a little cash tomorrow. I'm not going to put everything that I cash out into the market. I am looking for a pullback. I am not looking for a recession, but I'm going to stay mostly long with some cash until we see evidence that something has changed. Markup timing model says to be long, and if you have a system, you're supposed to follow that system. If we look at the ratio charts, which I forgot to open up first, you can see the continued strength in communications and technology. Discretionary weakened a little bit today. Staples, energy, utilities, real estate, industrial. Who is that? Sorry, that's industrials. That was utilities. All right, I thought, oh, this is discretionary. Yeah, financials, all these things look weak. Materials. The thing that I'm interested in is XLV healthcare. Healthcare looked a little different today, especially biotech. In fact, if you were to look at my portfolio yesterday, you would have seen a really strong day. But at the end of the day, it was sort of a break-even day and a massive move in Baidu. And if you look at today, you'd see he was up a little bit on everything, in general, a mixed day, but net up a little bit. And then a really big day by biotech, which really buoyed, whatever. It really helped my portfolio. And that's kind of been what August has been for me. There have been some really outstanding stocks that we picked. Oracle, Baidu for 2. Hood has still been good for the longest of time. My AGX, which I held on to because I had January options, is moving. The iron has been moving. It's been a good movement month. CRISPR is one I talked about earlier in the week, and I liked it with the 2 dots. It didn't do anything on Thursday, broke out on Friday. And I really think that, especially biotech, it's so sector dependent. And biotech had a nice move today. You could see it had this new dynamic signal I use, breaking out to a recent high. It was up 9.3%. And that's what biotech can do, especially a leveraged ETF like LABU. It's in a beautiful uptrend. And that really drove my portfolio today. 3854 stocks in our database today in our universe. Let's just go to top down. Let's rank them by percentages. And we got technology, healthcare, and industrials as the leading 3. Let's look at best industry groups in those 3 sectors: industrial, transport, 73, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. I can count. That means there's 800 stocks in the top 10 industry groups. Let's thin that down. Let's take stocks that are above 500,000. I want them to be above their 200. We've had a long rally. That gets me down to 278. Let's rank them by the number of impulses, bullish impulses, and let's take a look at the top 4 or 5. So lasers had a major run. It's still a relatively inexpensive stock. It had an impressive breakout here. Runs up, gaps up, runs up, gaps up, runs up. You look down here, it had a CPR, a gap volume breakout momentum, relative strength turning up above moving average. This is OBV. Let's look here at the fundamentals. Earnings are in November. The last earnings had really great growth and surprise. PE's kind of massive. Not my kind of stock, but a breakout. And I'd rather buy. So here's your first stage, second. It's second or third stage breakout. I'd rather have bought it down here. Obviously, there's much more risk buying it up here. ZS, pretty significant pullback, but broke above the 50 today. Decent volume. You can see CPR volume breakout momentum from a squeeze. This one looks decent. Trimble Navigation, similar pattern, but hasn't cleared the 50. TIC, don't know this, don't care. Says it's $13 stock. There must have been a split. Resolute Healthcare, don't know them, but I do love to buy things that break out of a flag. This thing was in a flag and it broke out today with volume breakout momentum and a CPR. RZLT, JBL, pullback and a breakout today. Looks pretty healthy. So one way to find leading stocks is to come in and look at it from a top-down perspective. Another way of doing top-down is to skip the sectors and just pick the top-performing top 10 industry groups. I also like to bottom fish, and when I built this program, when I spec'd out this program and the wonderful Praveen built this program, we wanted to make it easy. I think a lot of people who watch me get overdone a little bit on the funny names and it looks complicated. It's really not. And I like to teach, and it's my job to teach you how to use it. So it's not just before I sell you, it's even after you bought it. So let's leave in the 500 and above the 2. My favorite thing to do is to drop down that little triangle and look at my favorite winning scan, 2-day Momo up. Hit OK. And this is where I like to fish from. So let's just look at them. AMPL, Amplitude Technology, breaking here above the 50. It's certainly not extended. Relative strength and OBV look good. Breakout momentum. What's triggering us is those 2 blue dots in row above the squeeze, which is a double momentum. It's due earnings in November. The last report had a big change, doesn't make a lot of money. Certainly not interested in this on the fundamentals. If you want to know the news, you click over here. Overlooked AI stocks deliver market beating returns. Well, that's a popular word right now, AI. CBU, a regional bank. Regional banks have been extremely strong. They like the rate cut. This looks great right here. I'm always going to look up here and make sure the earnings are not around the corner. 1028, and they're looking at $1.03 versus 83 cents, which is 20 cents, which is 25 to 30% growth. It trades at a multiple of 15. It pays almost a 3% dividend. CBU. Cisco, run up, sideways move and a breakout over the 50. EQH, Equitable Holdings. I think these are my life insurance companies. It's hard for me to buy this pattern. Essent Financial Services, beautiful breakout here. Let's see if there's anything up here. Earnings are not till November. Not a lot of growth, but a big surprise on earnings. Multiples 955, 2% dividend. Can't tell much from the fundamentals. I like the breakout. FHN is another financial, First Horizon, sideways move, kind of a cup, handle and a breakout, like that. This was on last night, so that means it's got triple dots, FWONK. This is Formula One. My partner in our company, we sponsor Pierre Gasly. Always look around 8th or 9th place. That's usually where he finishes. And boy, what a machine the Formula One is. They print money. FWONK is a lot more of a return than sponsoring a car. I can assure you, nice breakout from a flag. GTX, Gannett Motion, sideways and a breakout. There's some good stocks here. JXN, got to clear this area. Empower, ooh, beautiful breakout. Expensive stock, close to $1,000 stock. 32% growth, 43%, 42, 31, has a multiple PE of 49, so it's kind of high. Pays a small dividend, less than 1%. $6.84, a lot of money, but not on an $800 stock or more, or $900 stock. I mean, it looks like it wants to go higher. It's an expensive stock. Another bank, what does that tell you? SATA, this has been on the last couple of days. It's an IPO. I don't know anything about it. Travelers, another insurance company. And then WMB, which is a MLP. This one pays just 3.5%. A lot of stuff there. A lot of these things are regional banks and a lot of things to like. So my thoughts are, I looked at a bunch of stocks. I'm not going to tell you which ones to buy. I'm worried not worried. I'll be focused on cleaning up my portfolio, pruning out things that I don't want to own anymore, and looking to see if there's things I need to add to. And then I guess as I look at this list, I really do like the Formula One breakout here, not a cheap stock. And I'm going to do a little more research on Essent. All-time high breakout, I think. Let's see on the monthly. It may not be all-time high. Yeah, it's an all-time high. I like that. Hope you have a great day. A couple of things. I'll do my videos from Vegas. I'll be at another investment conference this weekend and next weekend. I'd like to do another live meeting, probably midweek in the 8 o'clock range. I got to see how my schedule works, and then I'll announce it in the top-down trader room. Hope to see you there. Have a great weekend. Enjoy what's left of the nice weather up north, and we'll see you on probably Saturday. Thanks, everybody.